So Kenny, you couldn't make it to this year's E3. What the hell was the problem, man?
I mean, I'm sorry. I was caught in Miami traffic. I thought I'd get a cheeseburger down the street, but it took me like 4 hours just to go a mile. So, I'm sorry. You guys were done by the time I got back.
Alright, you're excused. I've already heard all the fucking horror stories about Miami traffic, not only from you, but from like the Lindsay, from the Dexter books.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So,
yeah. In every single book, Dexter's nearly getting sideswiped by some asshole in fucking Miami traffic. So I'll let this go. I will totally let this go.
Yeah. Thank you. Despite what the TV show shows you, it is terrible down there.
But anyways, you brought up an interesting point of something that we didn't see a whole lot of during the Sony conference that you wanted to elaborate on.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were actually talking after you guys had already recorded, and I mean, I was sad that I couldn't make it because something that I saw at Sony's conference, aside from the fact that they were just wrapped up in a security blanket of endless sequels and all that stuff, was just the fact that they had a Oculus Rift ripoff, and that was their big announcement.
Project Morpheus.
Yeah, Project Morpheus, and I was just like, okay, we've been seeing this thing for years now. It's called the Oculus Rift.
Mm-hmm. So where the hell did this frickin' revitalization of the virtual reality craze come from? Because I know I lived through the 90s and the big VR craze back during like the days of Sega and whatnot. And I imagine you probably remember shit like Lawnmower Man, that totally awesome virtual reality movie that apes the Flowers For Algernon book. But I mean, I thought that this entire fucking thing came and went. I mean,
it did, but I think I don't know, I think what's bringing it back to life right now is just the fact that with, I mean, I was a fairly small child in the 90s, but what I saw from the commercials, I was like, oh my god, that's so cool, when I saw something for virtual reality, but when I look back now and I see Nintendo's monstrosity, the Virtual Boy, I'm like, oh.
the painful red nightmare of 3D.
Yeah. You know, it was faux 3D, but not actually offering any cool experiences, and I think that's just because the technology was just way underdeveloped for what could have been, but... Yeah,
the technology certainly was not there in the day.
Yeah. So now that we see these advancements now, it's like, oh, holy cow, this is what we're coming to see, you know, with the Oculus Rift. It's like, that's a bigger promise for virtual reality now.
Yeah, because I mean, you got people like Mark Zuckerberg buying the Oculus, or acquiring Oculus Rift for like $2 billion, and previous to that, there was like legendary founder of id Software, John Carmack.
Oh yeah.
Really backing in. Valve Software did some prototypes. I mean, you have all these like bigwigs sinking a lot of money and time into it, and number one, it's not even a fucking consumer product yet, which is questionable. But it's the fact that all these people are putting so much money behind this thing, and everyone's saying it's revolutionary, and people who have used it and reviewed it online are saying it's so cool, and I'm sorry, but I just seem to see it as another gimmick. I mean, I don't know about you, but
you know what? It's not really a gimmick, I don't think. I mean, yeah, there are possibilities where the Oculus Rift could fade into obscurity just because not enough people will buy it, but I mean, more on that later, but I think it's more than a gimmick. You know, just sweeping aside a few possible limitations that could hamper it, I think the Oculus Rift could actually be a really neat little thing, and I think that's just because of the fact that now that virtual reality is becoming more prominent and more possible, more
feasible,
yeah, feasible, it could actually be like the next big step in video gaming. I'm not just saying that from a hype train, because choo-choo, here comes the hype train. That doesn't get us anywhere, but raising expectations too high.
As Nintendo has proven. Sorry.
Yeah, that raises expectations too high, but no, I honestly think that if we can get past like all of the, you know, limitations that could hamper it, I think the Oculus Rift could actually be a really neat little thing.
Now, one of the biggest limitations that's always hampered virtual reality is the fact that, although admittedly a technology wasn't there back in the day, is that there was always this little bit of lag in moving your head and what you saw on the screen. Move your head to the left, and there's just a little split-second lag that just makes you nauseous as fuck. I remember like being in Vegas when I was like 13 years old, and they had a couple of virtual reality experiences, and I just couldn't get into it. It did nothing for me, to be honest. It was kind of cool, technology was getting there, but it's not something I would play religiously for hours on end. It just made me sick. And of course, never mind the graphics, the experience just wasn't worth it for me. I have yet to play the Oculus Rift because I'm not, CCS is not yet to that point where we can get, free shit from the companies, Let's Players.
Yeah.
We gotta buy our shit, thanks guys. And never mind the fact that PewDiePie got bought out for, how much was that?
Oh, I don't know, I think like several
$1 million.
I mean, yeah, it was an obscene amount. He was bought out by Disney, so...
So he can afford to buy his own shit, but yeah, he's given shit, so...
Well, yeah, he gets like $4 million a year, I think.
Yeah, that's because he has the viewership, and they're like, hey, review this. We need to get the hype going up.
Yeah.
Get the hype going again.
Yeah, so point being, like, that's free advertisement right there if you have Let's Players, like, use your product that you're still developing.
Right, so we haven't had any chance to have any hands-on with this thing. I'm just kind of going based on speculation. Although I have heard good things about it, to be honest. Some people who are really much more harder on virtual reality than I will ever be have tried it, and they say it's revolutionary. A lot of Hollywood types are making apps and whatnot for it, like... I believe HBO has a Game of Thrones experience for the Oculus coming.
Really?
Yeah, which would be granted. Get the nah. I better not say it. I was gonna say get some 3D Oculus naked Queen of Dragons experience.
Oh gosh.
basically medieval porn.
I mean, that's what made Game of Thrones popular in the first place. Let's not kid ourselves here. Come on.
No, I disagree with that totally. Game of Thrones has an awesome array of characters. The sex, for the people who watch a lot of Game of Thrones and are even fans of the book, the sex was a hindrance to a lot of it. So yeah, it was actually widely criticized for the not sexploitation, the sexposition. Exposition combined with sex. Hey, let's fuck, and I'll tell you what's going on in the world.
Oh, oh gosh.
But anyways, that's going off on a fucking tangent. But I'm just approaching this from a skeptical point of view. If people are saying that it's awesome, people are saying it's going to be revolutionary, I don't doubt it because I don't have any first-hand experience. But I have lived through the VR craze of the early 90s where it basically like... in 1993, Wired magazine predicted that virtual reality would be one of the 7 technological wonders of the world, calling it the beacon that draws creative energies towards the culmination of computing, and then it fucking died.
Yeah.
It died a slow, painful 3D Red Death at the hand of Nintendo.
Oh yeah, I mean about that.
Yeah, which I will, in Nintendo's defense, say that the Virtual Boy was not virtual reality. It was 3D.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what it was. Although honestly, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about the virtual reality potential of the Oculus Rift, and I think to really get past that, I think the industry really needs to address some of the problems that could hamper it.
Right.
Because unfortunately, we live in a society that likes convenience. We live in a society that, is currently going through a recession. So,
yep.
There are some huge obstacles, that the guys need to get through before the Oculus Rift can really hit the homes with full force.
Yes, that's exactly what happened with 3D TVs, because the first set of 3D TVs, they had like those $50 glasses that polarize and unpolarize at certain intervals. With the TV itself would send out like certain, it had like a stuttering effect, and the glasses on the screen, the glasses that you wear, would match that stuttering effect to give the illusion of 3D.
Yeah.
Now, cool sounding technology, but here's the problem. If you're going to have a Super Bowl party and you're going to have a 3D TV, you got to buy a fucking ton of those $50 glasses to make the experience worthwhile just for one event of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Which is totally unfeasible.
Yeah, it's a huge waste of money. I mean, yeah.
Exactly. And that's why that particular technology didn't work. Whereas my neighbor wanted to have a Super Bowl party, and I managed to find a TV that he could afford that used those plastic polarized theater glasses.
Oh yeah.
So that, if you want to watch the game in 3D, then you bring your own theater glasses, or you spend a couple bucks on them.
Yeah.
much more accessible to the mainstream. Whereas right now, I don't know how much the Oculus is planning on costing, but didn't you mention some?
Oh yeah, the developer kit right now is actually worth like $350. So
yeah, that's about the same cost as a console. So as a peripheral, that's a bit high.
A peripheral?
As an add-on, as an add-on, it's pretty high. Sorry, I can't say peripheral. See, I just did it again. Fuck you, Kenny.
Aww. But it's like the CCS After Dark thing.
Yeah, it's not a fucking screensaver, man. It's after hours.
But yeah, my brain just exploded. But yeah, with 3D TV, you know, you had that ridiculous cost. So with the Oculus Rift, you know, with it being a peripheral, you know, $350 is a lot. Although I will say, in the Oculus Rift's defense, I will say that before, peripherals used to just be plastic things that you just strap onto your controllers.
Rumble
and
pack,
it's like, oh.
Or...
Well, yeah, so I mean, like, for Link's crossbow training, you can get this whole crossbow add-on for your Wiimote, and you only use it for that. Aside from that, you just plop it down and you're never going to use it again. Mm-hmm. And you spent, how much, like $50 on it? Too bad for you, but...
Donkey Konga.
Oh yeah, Donkey Konga. Yeah, the hottest new Christmas gift for like a split second. Put it down, play with your controller again. But with the Oculus Rift, honestly, I mean, you could use it for anything, really. It has the potential where you can, you know, strap it onto a lot of your games, and you can play virtual reality with the controller in your hand, and there you go. You can actually make it part of your experience. It enhances your experience. It isn't just a thing that you can hold in your hands and flop around.
But here's the thing: is every demo I've seen for the Oculus Rift is a third-person type of game. It could be like, you know, Slender. It could be a first-person shooter.
Among the Sleep.
Yeah, it could be a game that, you know, you're like right now they're making Eve Valkyrie by CCP Games, and it's going to be one of the first AAA titles announced for the Oculus, and it's basically a first-person space simulator, right?
Oh, wait a minute. Eve Valkyrie. I think I know which one you're talking about. I don't think it's called Eve Valkyrie. I think it's like, what? No, it Outlaw
says
Skies?
It says Eve Valkyrie right here on the Wired Magazine website.
Oh, whoops, I'm thinking of something else. Derp. I'm thinking of something else.
But no, but you're thinking that they're actually still making lots of games for that support the Oculus, right?
Yeah.
However, almost all of them are first-person games, which, I mean, you can't do a third-person game and make it virtual reality. I don't believe.
No.
I mean, it'd just be really awkward. It'd be totally out-of-body experience.
I mean, it would. That's the thing.
So what I see is this is a limitation, a severe hamperance, a severe limitation to what types of things can support the hardware.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're living in an age where there's a lot of, honestly, there's tons of third-person games. 2D side-scrollers are still pretty popular. I'm seeing like this being used for like Battlefield and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, honestly, like, while, I don't know, because you bring up an interesting point, I think. While they could only be used for first-person games that we can think of, you know, there could be the possibility that developers could actually, I don't know, adapt to third-person games, like, sort of mod the games a little bit, where you could play in a first-person mode. I mean, sure, we haven't seen very... Doesn't like the Elder Scrolls games kind of do that? Well, yeah, they do that. You can swap between first and third person. At least in Skyrim, I know of.
So if MMOs did the same thing.
Yes, you know, like for World of Warcraft, for example. I mean, yeah, they've been going for a million years. They've been making a million add-ons to keep it relevant. And I think you were mentioning to me at some point that they could feasibly make it a first-person experience with their servers or something like that.
I said that if Oculus Rift, if Blizzard wanted to support it, since they already have the world basically built, it's kind of just changing the camera angle though. But my biggest point of contention was the fact that, you know, people use hotkeys in MMOs, and I see that being a hindrance if you have this screen over your eyes.
Yeah, I mean, that is like the only, I mean, that's the only thing that, you know, could probably prevent that from happening. You know, you have to think of the limitations. So, yeah, if you do have the Oculus Rift strapped over your eyeballs, then, whoops, you can't see what's going on, like, with your keyboard or your mouse or your gamepad or anything like that. So, that would be the only thing that could really prevent it from being, like, a super cool experience outside of a first-person shooter. I get that. You know, so that it could be a hindrance, but, you know, if it's perfect for first-person, it is still perfect for first-person shooters. It really is.
And like I said, that's the reason why I wonder how much of this, how much of this is going to actually fly. I mean, we tried virtual reality in the past. It was a gimmick. The technology wasn't there, I admit, and it made people physically nauseous when they played it.
Yeah.
It was also way too expensive for the time, because technology, again, was hyper advanced. I mean, I'm not against the idea of having, like, virtual reality type experiences where you can literally stand in your living room and you'll be in, like, a whole new place. You know, you could be, you know, in a Tron game, basically. You could be, you know, going through Westeros in a Game of Thrones experience.
That'd be cool.
I'm definitely not against all that, though, but it's the limitations as far as, like, gameplay and the experience. Everything has to be centered towards first-person experience. Everything has to be a first-person shooter, essentially.
Yeah.
For it to work. I mean, believe me, I want me some Slender Man where you have the Oculus Rift on and you use, like, a Wiimote, like a flashlight.
Oh, dude.
It was extremely awesome, in my opinion. Or can you imagine, like, playing, like, Amnesia: The Dark Descent with an Oculus Rift? I mean, you'd be shitting your pants right in the comfort of your own living room.
I would die. I would have a freaking heart attack if that was the case. Oh.
I mean, literally, yeah. If you can get that absorbed in your games, that would be very interesting technology. Additionally, they say that there's things that you can do, like you could have virtual conferences with your doctor by using virtual reality and the internet. You can have scientists can you know, map out star systems and stuff like that, and they can actually, like, literally kind of fly through the galaxy. Yeah. Right, through virtual reality, they can see 3D models of particles and of, you know, bacteria and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of practical applications for this, and I see that it could be revolutionary.
Yeah.
But when it comes to gaming, I believe in Occam's razor, that like the Wii suffered. You know, the Wii was going to be get up and get in the game, swing your arms, you know, and it's still kind of, people are sitting on their asses and wagging the controllers around their arms, and Nintendo went right back to the controller model with the Wii U.
Yeah. I mean, that is the problem there, you know. I mean, sorry to cut you off. I mean, that.
Oh, no problem. I cut you off all the time, like right now, so go ahead and do it.
No, I mean, that is the problem. It's that gamers are a curious breed, because they said a lot of the same things that they are saying about the Oculus Rift, about the Wii, that, you know, oh, it'll change the world. It's a revolution, if you will.
It'll change how you play your game.
Yes, but as, like, a couple years pass, and even though the Wii dominated the last generation, as much as certain fanboys hate to hear that, you know, after a while, with the Wii U being around, and Wiimotes are still, like, major controllers for it, what you see is that a lot of the Wii U games have the Wiimotes, like, tilted to their sides. You'd hold it like a regular controller, and so people want to sit on the couch again. Here's the thing. It's the same with the 3D TVs, you know, where if you have those glasses, you put them on, like, I think it would get tiresome if you would have to take all these extra steps just to watch TV. People don't want to do that. You know?
Extra steps to play your video game in this case.
Exactly. So if you have an Oculus Rift strapped to your head, you got to calibrate it or make sure that it's working properly. And so, you know, you would do that just to play a game instead of just sitting down, turning it on, having fun. And that would overly complicate it. So I think that's another limitation, that people would just think it's unnecessarily complicated.
Yes, people want the path of least resistance. I see that there's gamers out there who play, like, Battlefield, and I'm not saying that's a bad or thing or anything, but there's people out there who play games and they have, like, the triple monitor setup.
Yeah.
With, like, the semicircle of field of view. And I can see the Oculus totally being worthwhile for them, because they've already, you know, spent tons of money on 3 monitors that, you know, $350 for a pair of 3D glasses to to give them the total immersive experience in the game,
Yeah.
would be something that they'd want to totally, go into. However, the casual gamer is kind of what I'm wondering about.
Oh, yeah.
You already have TV, you already have the console, you already have the controller. Do you really want to spend the extra money on getting a headset that lets you be in the game for a select few games?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the problem, with the, I would say, technical limitations right now, just with the sheer amount of, I don't know, I'm trying to...
I'm not saying it's a technical limitations, so to speak, it's more like the fact that it's more about just the content. I mean, it's always about the content.
Yeah, it is. If you have, like, a limited amount of games, like, you don't have so many games available for it right now that would actually make it, I guess, desirable to have. Just like with the beginning of any gaming generation, you have very few games for a system, and people are just going to be like, I'm going to wait and see what happens.
Just wait. Speaking of wait and see what happens, wait until there's 3D boobs on the screen and wait and hear the backlash that's gonna get.
Oh
my god. Oh my god. Then it's really gonna be like you're making virtual women, It's gonna be virtual misogyny.
Just when I thought you guys had taken me out of that, you pull me right back in.
I'm sorry, but I mean, there's gonna be people in basements with Oculus Rift, and they're just going to be staring or maybe faffing for hours. You talk about basement dwellers, man. They'll never, ever come up for, like, fucking air if they have, like, 3D women standing in front of them with a headset on. I mean, it's exactly like Lawnmower Man all over again, where, you can have virtual sex.
Yeah, that's the problem. So,
which, oddly enough, the sex industry might be enough to push this thing forward. Because seriously, no joke. High def porn, the internet, all that stuff was largely pushed by the porn industry.
Oh gosh!
I mean, the technology. It's like the old saying that if we ever actually find life on another planet, the first question that's going to come up is, can we fuck it?
Oh no!
No joke. Just look at Mass Effect.
Oh. Well, yeah, if Mass Effect's taught us anything,
If the Mass Effect modders have taught us anything, because there's you can make some sex scenes between some species that shouldn't be doing that.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, so if anything, if there's a will, there's a way.
Oh, God.
What was our original point? Oh, yeah, that's right.
We got distracted by the sex. We can't think where we're at now.
Oh, good job. Good job, Laughing Man. No,
it's just the feasibility of whether or not this will be an adapted technology. I mean, I see the possibility, no doubt there.
Yeah.
But it's whether or not people will latch onto it and something that they'll want to come into in and out day after day.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what she said.
See, again, the porn industry will drive this thing forward. People will want to come in and out every day. Oh my god, it looked like a fucking... virtual sex would look like a fucking Dexter kill room. All this plastic everywhere, making sure you don't get it.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh, let's not take it there.
Oh, now that we're properly loosened up, we can get on with the podcast. Jesus Christ.
Feasibility.
Someone knocks on the door and walks into your house. Oh my god, can you imagine the look on their face when they see you with a virtual reality headset in this room that's completely tarped up with plastic? Oh my god.
I can explain.
No, you can't. It'd be like that fucking scene from Iron Man. It's like, this isn't the worst thing you've caught me doing.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Oh man, but...
Well, I'm sold. I'm totally for virtual reality now.
Woo!
Hashtag lonely.
There you go.
Oh boy. See, it's that, honestly, unfortunately, as sad as it is, that's probably what's going to drive the industry forward, is once they start making virtual porn.
Yeah, and then Fox News and other stations will start talking about it, like, oh, the outrage, and then people will be exposed to that.
Tumblr will be up on its fucking arms.
Yep. And then people will be exposed to it and be like, ooh, I want me a piece of that.
Yeah, it'll just be another mainstay. But you know what? Actually, such innovations have actually, again, when people, no, I don't want to get too much on a high horse here though, but when people, when porn was introduced to the internet, people got on their soapboxes and screamed, "Oh my God, it's going to cause all these social problems." Whereas in reality, ever since the advent of pornography on the internet, the statistics for actual rape have gone down 60%.
Well, that's good. I think we're getting way off topic.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying that real life rape was actually severely
cut down
by the advent of internet pornography, so.
Hooray!
Hooray! Unexpected consequences.
Yep. Well, there you go. But I think, like, the problem with adapting this sort of technology is, yeah, to the feasibility, as you said, you know, while the hardcore people who may be really into virtual reality buy the whole thing and might even buy that silly harness to go with it, you know, the casual gamer, they're going to be hampered by price, they're going to be hampered by the Occam's razor approach, you know, simpler is better. Yep. They may not want it. So, really, the Oculus Rift, to get over its biggest challenge, is to really appeal to everyone. Right.
However, here's one thing I just thought of. If the Oculus Rift costs the same as a fucking computer monitor or a television, then couldn't you just jack right into the Oculus Rift?
I mean, you should, you know.
For most games. So instead of getting the triple monitor setup, you can just use the Oculus Rift and save yourself some money.
I mean, honestly, if it was its own hardware, you know.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I connect it to a computer, but I mean, if the display hardware would be the Oculus Rift.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, since it's already the cost of like a whole new console anyway, you know.
Yeah. One thing I want to do is I was thinking about interjecting earlier on some personal stories about our own virtual reality like fantasies, like when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, sure thing.
You know, virtual reality has been around forever, and in fact, when I was in like grade school, back in like the '90s and stuff, the promise of a virtual reality being in a movie was huge. I mean, I remember that like back in the day, everyone was buzzing about, you know, movies like Friday the 13th and, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And even as like a 6-year-old or maybe even a 10-year-old kid, you know, back in the day, the promise of being able to like walk around Crystal Lake and, you know, turn around and there's like Jason Voorhees and you run away and, you know, essentially be the victim and try to evade Jason.
Yeah.
Sounded thrilling. I mean, it was like, you know, obviously you couldn't die though, but it'd be something that was exciting and something scary and something really, really interesting. And
oh, of course.
Yeah. So I mean, if we have technology nowadays to really put that forward, to, you know, capture those fantasies that I had as a kid, being in the movie.
Yeah.
Then I see that as being worthwhile itself.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know what, as a kid, I used to have dreams where, you know, I would actually be in a video game. So I would be in fantastical settings, you know, derelict spaceship, you know.
Dead Space.
Yeah, kind of like Dead Space, but with, like, Wampas from Star Wars or something like that, you know. It was thrilling. I really loved dreaming as a kid because of the fact that I could go to these fantastical lands. So the promise of virtual reality, in a way, was escapism.
The ultimate escapism.
Yeah, it was honestly like the most... It was just the greatest thing for me because I could escape the mundane life, you know, and have adventures. So with the Oculus Rift, that could really be just some great potential where
this potential is finally within reach.
Yeah, I could relive some of those things again and feel like I'm doing something aside from controlling an avatar. Like, it will be me having an adventure.
Elder Scrolls, yeah, it'd be like if you had like a Zelda or Elder Scrolls game that genuinely featured you.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, obviously the controls are going to need some
fine-tuning,
but you know, the idea of standing in your living room with an Oculus Rift on your head or a virtual reality helmet, doesn't matter which one.
Yeah.
Being convincingly good, as apparently the Oculus Rift is, and holding like a Wiimote and battling monsters and going through dungeons and over strange lands and that kind of thing is extremely enticing. I mean, that is like the pinnacle of escapism.
Yeah.
And this is stuff that, you know, we used to dream of as kids, but again, I think we have to look at like the feasibility of it. There's some hurdles that need to be like jumped before we can get to that point.
Yeah, and that's definitely like the biggest obstacle. So before we can get there, I think we just need to jump, just get over all of these obstacles.
Right.
That's the thing that we need to remember and keep in mind. And that's the thing that the people behind Oculus Rift need to keep in mind as well.
Yes.
And if they can do that, then really we do have a revolution on our hands, and that's fantastic.